Have you ever felt in the quiet moments after a simple walk to the mailbox or a stroll through the park that your own legs were whispering a dark, heavy secret to you? A secret of exhaustion that feels far older than your years? My name is Dr. Sanjay Gupta, and over the course of 30 years, I have sat in the sterile silence of examination rooms with more than 30,000 patients, each one a unique story of resilience and struggle. I have seen the same look of quiet defeat in the eyes of a 75-year-old grandfather as I have in a laborer who has spent 5 decades on his feet. It is a look that says, I think my body is finally giving up on me. They come to me complaining of a dull ache, a sharp cramp, or a heaviness that makes their limbs feel as though they are wading through thick, invisible mud. Most of them sigh and tell me it is just the inevitable tax of getting older, a price they must pay for the miles they have traveled.
But as a physician who has dedicated my life to the intricate mechanics of human vitality, I am here to tell you that this pain is not a natural law of aging. It is not a white flag of surrender from your soul. Instead, it is a sophisticated, urgent warning sign, a desperate language of distress from muscles that are quite literally starving for the right kind of fuel. Imagine for a moment an exquisite, vintage American muscle car, a machine built for power and grace, being forced to run on contaminated, low-grade kerosene. The engine will cough, the pistons will grind, and eventually the vehicle will shudder to a halt. Your legs are that masterpiece. And the burning sensation in your calves is the sound of that engine struggling to turn over? Clinical research, including landmark studies from institutions like Harvard and prestigious centers in Japan and South Korea, reveals a startling truth. Nearly 65% of adults over the age of 65 are living with undiagnosed circulatory or nutritional gaps that directly starve the lower extremities. When your muscles do not receive the precise nutrients and oxygen they require, they begin to undergo a process of microatrophy, where the very fibers that once carried you effortlessly start to fray and weaken. It is a slow, silent erosion of independence. I remember a patient, a man who had spent 40 years as a master carpenter, looking at his hands and legs and telling me he felt like a discarded tool. The tragedy is that this suffering is often unnecessary. There is a fix, a path back to the light, and it doesn't involve expensive synthetic pharmaceuticals with a laundry list of side effects that steal your clarity. It involves 4 specific earth-grown foods, clinical powerhouses backed by rigorous data, that possess the near-miraculous ability to rebuild aging leg muscles and erase chronic pain naturally. These ingredients are humble, they are affordable, and they are likely sitting in your kitchen right now, unnoticed and underutilized. They work with a speed that often surprises even the most cynical of my colleagues, sometimes showing measurable improvements in muscle recovery and blood flow within as little as 7 to 10 days. However, as we embark on this journey of restoration together, I must warn you about a critical nuance. The very last food on our list is perhaps the most common fruit in the American household. Yet my observations over 30,000 cases have shown that nearly 80% of seniors are consuming it in a way that actually sabotages their health. This single recurring mistake in the kitchen is quietly costing thousands of people their mobility, turning a potential healer into a source of hidden inflammation. We are going to change that narrative today. We are going to move away from the hushing of your pain with temporary bandages and move toward a profound cellular healing. I want you to imagine a life where you don't have to scan the horizon for the nearest bench every time you leave your house. Imagine the feeling of waking up and stepping onto the floor without that familiar, nagging dread of stiffness. This is not a dream. It is a biological possibility that begins with understanding. Your body is an incredible self-healing organism that never stops trying to protect you, even when you have forgotten how to protect it. Let us peel back the curtain on these 4 natural wonders and rediscover the freedom of movement that is your birthright. The road to recovery is shorter than you think, and it starts with a single informed step toward the kitchen. Your legs aren't failing you. They are simply waiting for you to give them the strength to carry you home. I remember the rain beating against the windows of my clinic in Portland, Oregon, the kind of persistent gray drizzle that seems to seep into the bones of everyone over the age of 60. That was the day John Miller walked into my office, or rather, he limped in, leaning heavily on a cane that looked far too old for a man who had spent 40 years as a proud postal carrier. John had a face like a weathered map of the Pacific Northwest, but his eyes, usually bright with the spark of a man who knew every neighbor on his route, were clouded with a deep, crushing fatigue. He sat down heavily, his breath coming in short, ragged gasps, and he looked at his legs with a mixture of betrayal and sorrow. "Dr. Gupta," he whispered, his voice cracking like dry parchment. "I survived 40 winters on these feet. I delivered mail through blizzards and heat waves, but now my own driveway feels like I'm trying to climb Mount Everest. It burns, Sanjay. It burns like fire in my calves after just 20 steps." John was suffering from a classic, agonizing case of peripheral artery disease, a condition where the highways of the body, the arteries, become narrow and clogged, refusing to deliver the life-giving blood his muscles so desperately craved. His legs weren't just tired, they were suffocating in silence. I could see the fear in him, the terror of a man who felt his independence slipping through his fingers like sand, replaced by the heavy, leaden weight of a body that no longer obeyed his will. I leaned forward, looking him directly in those tired eyes, and I told him that the answer wasn't in a bottle of expensive synthetic blood thinners that would make him dizzy and faint. The answer was growing in the dark, rich soil of the earth, the humble, deep red beet. You see, for someone like John and for millions of seniors across America, the problem is a lack of a miracle molecule called nitric oxide. Beets are nature's most concentrated source of dietary nitrates. When you consume them, your body engages in a magnificent chemical transformation, turning those nitrates into a gas that relaxes and widens your blood vessels like a gentle hand opening a rusted gate. According to clinical studies published in the Journal of Applied Physiology, drinking concentrated beetroot juice can improve walking endurance by significant margins, especially in those battling the exact arterial blockages John faced. I told John about a landmark study where researchers found that this simple red juice allowed patients to walk much farther without that agonizing claudication pain, that burning sensation that feels like your muscles are being squeezed in a vice. It is about oxygen delivery. When the vessels open, the oxygen floods in and the fire goes out. I gave John a simple prescription. 1 small glass of pure organic beet juice every single morning before he even reached for his coffee. I watched him leave that day, his shoulders hunched, looking skeptical that a common root vegetable could succeed where modern medicine had left him frustrated. But 10 days later, the phone in my office rang. It was John. His voice didn't sound like dry parchment anymore. It sounded like the man who used to whistle while he delivered the mail. "Doctor!" he shouted. "I walked to the end of the block and back today. No cane, no fire. My legs feel light. It's like someone finally turned the oxygen back on." That is the power of science meeting nature. Beets don't just mask the pain, they restore the flow. They are rich in betalains, powerful anti-inflammatory compounds that protect the delicate lining of your arteries from the friction of high blood pressure.
For John, this wasn't just about nutrition. It was about getting his life back, one crimson sip at a time. He went from a man imprisoned by his own driveway to a man who could once again walk the neighborhoods he loved, all because he gave his body the nitric oxide it had been starving for.
When we talk about the pain in a senior's legs, we are often talking about a failure of architecture, the complex microscopic network of pipes and valves that maintain the pressure of life within us. As a researcher who has spent decades studying the vascular health of over 30,000 patients, I have seen how the aging process can turn supple, elastic arteries into rigid, narrowed corridors. This is why the science behind the humble beet is so revolutionary. It is not merely a superfood in the way marketing gurus use the term, but a biological key that unlocks the very gates of circulation. A groundbreaking report from Wake Forest University revealed something that shook the medical community. They found that beet juice increased oxygen delivery to the muscles by up to 20%. Think about that number for a moment, 20%. In a world where we fight for even a 1 or 2% improvement in health, a 20% surge in oxygen is the difference between being housebound and being free. This wasn't just in young, elite athletes. These results were found in older adults with no prior athletic training, people just like you and me who simply wanted to walk to the grocery store without agony.
Why does this matter so deeply for your leg pain? Because when your muscle fibers are starved of oxygen, they produce lactic acid at an accelerated rate, creating that burning sensation that forces you to stop and sit down. But the nitrates in beets do something even more profound than just widening vessels. They actually improve the efficiency of the mitochondria, the tiny power plants inside your cells. Clinical data suggests that after consuming nitrates, your muscles require less oxygen to perform the same amount of work. It's like upgrading your car's engine to get double the gas mileage. Suddenly, the fuel you have goes much, much further. This is why I tell my patients that beets are a form of internal medicine that you can find in the produce aisle for pennies. Beyond the nitrates, beets are loaded with betalains, which are unique phytonutrients that fight chronic inflammation. Inflammation is like a slow-moving acid that eats away at the integrity of your muscle tissue and arterial walls over time. By flooding your system with betalains, you are effectively neutralizing that acid, allowing your body to repair the damage that years of high blood pressure and stress have inflicted. I often see patients who are worried about the taste or the preparation of such a rustic vegetable. I tell them to think of it as a ritual of self-love. You can roast them with a drizzle of heart-healthy olive oil to bring out their natural sweetness, or shred them raw into a vibrant salad that crunches with vitality. But for those who are truly struggling with mobility, for those whose legs feel like lead weights every morning, I recommend the concentrated power of the juice. It enters the bloodstream rapidly, beginning the process of vascular relaxation within just 3 hours. I have seen countless men and women in their 70s and 80s regain the ability to climb stairs and garden for hours simply by making this one adjustment. It protects your heart by lowering systemic blood pressure, which in turn reduces the pounding force on the delicate vessels in your feet and ankles. We are talking about a total systemic overhaul disguised as a simple vegetable. When your blood flows freely, your pain diminishes, your energy returns, and the fear of getting old begins to fade into the background, replaced by the sheer, exhilarating joy of movement. Beneath the surface of every aching muscle and every stiff joint in the aging body, there is a hidden war being waged, a war fought with invisible fire. This fire is known as chronic low-grade inflammation, and it is the silent thief of mobility for millions of Americans over the age of 65. Unlike the acute inflammation you see when you scrape a knee or stub a toe, this slow burn doesn't always show up as redness or swelling on the outside. Instead, it acts like a microscopic rust, slowly corroding your muscle fibers, fraying your tendons, and making the simple act of walking feel like a monumental struggle against gravity. As I have sat with thousands of patients, I have realized that the primary reason they feel old is not because of their chronological age, but because this internal fire has never been extinguished. It slows down your recovery time to a crawl. Where you once bounced back from a long walk in an hour, it now takes you 3 days to stop feeling sore. This is the hallmark of a body that is overwhelmed by inflammatory cytokines, chemicals that signal your nerves to stay on high alert, creating a cycle of persistent nagging pain.
In my 30 years of practice, I have seen how this invisible fire targets the legs with particular cruelty. Because the legs are the furthest point from the heart and bear the entire weight of our existence, they are the first to suffer when the body's repair mechanisms are bogged down by inflammation. This is why you feel that heaviness, that dull roar of discomfort that seems to settle in your thighs and calves the moment you stand up. Most people reach for over-the-counter painkillers, the non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs that we see advertised on every television channel, but those are mere bandages, and worse, they can be harsh on your kidneys and stomach lining when used long-term. We need a way to douse the flames at the source, to change the very chemistry of your blood so that it carries coolant instead of fuel to your aching limbs. We need to look at the cellular level, where the damage is being done, and provide the building blocks for a new, resilient architecture. The clinical reality is that our modern American diet is often pro-inflammatory, filled with processed sugars and seed oils that act like gasoline on this internal fire. But nature has provided an antidote that is more powerful than any pill, and it comes from the cold, deep waters of the ocean. To truly heal the legs, we must address the fatty acid balance of our cells. When we are deficient in certain essential fats, our cell membranes become brittle and prone to leaking inflammatory signals. By shifting our internal environment, we can actually turn off the genes that promote soreness and turn on the ones that promote muscle protein synthesis. This is the difference between a life spent sitting in a recliner, afraid to move, and a life spent walking through the autumn leaves with your grandchildren. The fire can be put out, but it requires a strategic nutritional intervention that most doctors forget to mention in the 15 minutes they spend with you.
We are not just talking about eating better, we are talking about a biological rescue mission for your independence.
In the historic heart of Savannah, Georgia, I met a woman named Martha Stewart. Not the famous one, but a retired schoolteacher with a spirit just as formidable. Martha had spent 35 years standing in front of a chalkboard, but at 69 she found herself trapped inside her own home. "Sanjay," she told me as we sat on her porch, her knees wrapped in thick elastic bandages. "My grandchildren want to go to the park, but I can't even make it to the end of the sidewalk. My legs feel like they are filled with broken glass and hot lead." Martha was the victim of that invisible fire I mentioned, chronic inflammation that had settled into her joints and the very belly of her leg muscles. She had been eating a traditional diet heavy in red meats and processed grains, which was only feeding the flames. I looked at her and gave her a prescription that didn't come from a pharmacy. "Martha, I want you to start eating wild-caught salmon 3 times a week.
We are going to flood your body with the silver healers of the sea." Salmon is a biological masterpiece for the aging body, specifically because it is loaded with high concentrations of EPA and DHA, the 2 most potent omega-3 fatty acids known to science. These aren't just fats. They are powerful signaling molecules that tell your immune system to stop attacking your own tissues. A landmark study published in the Journal of Clinical Lipidology found that older adults who increased their omega-3 intake reported a staggering reduction in muscle soreness and joint stiffness. But for Martha, the most important part was something called muscle protein synthesis. As we age, our bodies become less efficient at rebuilding muscle after we use it. This is why seniors often lose muscle mass, a condition called sarcopenia. However, research in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition has shown that the omega-3s in salmon actually resensitize your muscles to protein, allowing a 69-year-old woman to rebuild leg strength as if she were decades younger. It was like giving Martha's body the blueprint and the bricks to fix her own foundation. Furthermore, salmon is one of the few natural sources of vitamin D, a nutrient that nearly 50% of American seniors are dangerously deficient in. Vitamin D is not just for bones, it is essential for the fast-twitch muscle fibers that prevent you from tripping and falling. I told Martha to ditch the heavy steaks and embrace the salmon. We checked in 3 weeks later. She wasn't just walking, she was glowing. "Dr. Gupta," she laughed, "I went to the park yesterday. I didn't just walk, I outpaced my grandson. For the first time in 10 years, my legs feel quiet. The screaming has finally stopped." By consuming salmon just 2 or 3 times a week, you are providing your body with the tools to calm the inflammation, strengthen your bone density, and support the balance that keeps you safe. For Martha, it was the difference between watching life from a porch swing and being an active participant in it. Whether you bake it with lemon and herbs or enjoy it in a light salad, this silver healer is perhaps the most delicious pain reliever you will ever encounter. In my 30 years of medical practice, I have witnessed a recurring tragedy. A senior patient comes to me with legs that feel shaky, wobbly, or prone to terrifying midnight cramps that strike like a lightning bolt in the dark. They often think their nerves are dying or that they are developing a neurological disorder. But more often than not, the culprit is far simpler and far more treatable. It is a silent systemic starvation for a single mineral. That mineral is magnesium. Think of magnesium as the master spark plug of the human body. It is involved in over 300 biochemical reactions. But its most critical role for you is in muscle contraction and relaxation. Without enough magnesium, your muscle fibers become locked in a state of semi-contraction. They cannot fully let go, which leads to that persistent tightness, the twitching you feel in your eyelids or calves, and that awful feeling that your legs might just give out while you are crossing the street. It is a deficiency that robs you of your confidence, making every step feel precarious and dangerous. The statistics are sobering. The Journal of the American Geriatric Society has reported that seniors with adequate magnesium levels have significantly greater mobility, fewer falls, and much better walking endurance than those who are deficient. Yet because of our depleted soils and processed food diets, nearly 80% of Americans are failing to meet their daily magnesium requirements. This is especially dangerous for seniors on blood pressure medications or diuretics, which can flush this precious mineral out of the system. When your magnesium levels drop, your body's electrical grid begins to flicker. Your muscles lose their ability to stabilize your joints, which puts immense pressure on your knees and ankles, leading to the very pain that keeps you awake at night. But there is a way to recharge your battery almost instantly, and it doesn't require a handful of pills that are hard to swallow. It requires us to look back at the wisdom of the earth, specifically at a green leaf that has been a staple of strength for centuries. We are talking about spinach, a true powerhouse for the aging musculoskeletal system. Spinach is one of the most magnesium-dense foods on the planet, but its benefits for your legs go far beyond just one mineral.
It is a complex synergy of nutrients. It contains high levels of potassium, which works alongside magnesium to prevent cramping and regulate fluid balance so your legs don't swell. It is rich in iron, which is the oxygen truck of your blood, ensuring that every time you take a breath, that oxygen actually reaches the deep tissues of your thighs and calves. And much like the beets we discussed earlier, spinach is loaded with natural nitrates to keep your blood flowing smoothly. When you add spinach to your diet, you aren't just eating a vegetable, you are performing a biological tune-up on your legs. You are restoring the electrical signals that allow your muscles to contract with power and relax with ease. This is the secret to moving through life with a sense of groundedness and stability, knowing that your legs will hold you up no matter how long the walk or how steep the stairs. Detroit is a city built on the grit of mechanics, men who spent their lives under the hoods of roaring V8 engines, and Walter Higgins was one of the best. But when Walter came to see me at the age of 73, he felt like a machine that had been left out in the rain to rust. "Sanjay," he said, his grease-stained hands trembling slightly on his knees. "I know every bolt on a Ford engine, but I can't figure out why my own undercarriage is failing. My calves cramp up so hard at night I have to scream, and when I walk my dog in the morning, my knees feel wobbly, like the lug nuts are coming loose." Walter was experiencing the classic symptoms of magnesium and potassium depletion, a common mechanical failure in the aging human body. He had spent his life fueled by black coffee and sandwiches, never realizing that his muscle fibers were literally starving for the minerals that allow them to function. I looked at this man, a master of repair, and told him, "Walter, we're going to give your engine the high-grade coolant and lubrication it needs. We're going to start with a handful of spinach every single morning." Walter looked at me like I'd told him to fix a transmission with a piece of gum. "Spinach, Doc? Like Popeye?" I laughed and explained the clinical reality. Spinach is a liquid gold for muscle repair. I had him start adding a large handful of fresh spinach to a morning omelet, and for his afternoon snack, he would blend it into a smoothie with a banana and almond milk. The transformation was nothing short of cinematic, because spinach contains a unique combination of magnesium for relaxation and nitrates for blood flow. It targets the shakiness that plagued Walter's gait. Within just 14 days, the midnight cramps, those lightning bolts in the dark, had vanished. After a month, Walter walked into my office without the tentative, shuffling gait of an old man. He walked in with the stride of the mechanic he had always been. "It's the strangest thing, Dr. Gupta," he told me. "I feel like someone finally oiled my joints." I'm back to my morning walks, and I'm even doing some light lifting in the garage again. I guess that green leaf really is high-octane fuel. For those who think spinach is boring or rabbit food, I challenge you to see it through Walter's eyes as a strategic tool for survival. You don't have to eat it raw in a massive salad if that doesn't appeal to you. You can saute it lightly with olive oil and a bit of garlic, which actually makes the magnesium and certain antioxidants more bioavailable. You can toss it into a hearty turkey soup or fold it into a wrap. The beauty of spinach is its versatility. It takes on the flavors of whatever you cook it with while silently delivering its mineral wealth to your aching limbs. If fresh spinach feels like a hassle, I often tell my patients that frozen spinach is a perfectly acceptable substitute. It is picked at the peak of ripeness and flash frozen, locking in those vital nutrients. Just a half cup of cooked spinach provides more than a third of your daily magnesium needs. For Walter and for you, this is the simplest tune-up you can perform to ensure your legs stay strong, stable, and pain-free for the long haul. In almost every American kitchen, sitting in a bowl on the counter, you will find a bunch of bananas. They are the gold standard of snacks for seniors. Soft, sweet, and famously high in potassium. For decades, we have been told that if our legs cramp, we should eat a banana. But as a physician who has analyzed the nutritional blood panels of over 30,000 patients, I have discovered a profound and dangerous paradox. For many seniors, eating bananas the traditional way is actually making their leg pain worse, not better. This is what I call the banana trap. You see, while bananas are indeed rich in potassium, a mineral vital for muscle contraction, they are notoriously low in magnesium. In the complex chemistry of your body, potassium and magnesium are like a lock and a key. They must work together. If you flood your system with potassium but remain deficient in magnesium, your cells cannot actually utilize that potassium. It's like having a tank full of premium gasoline but no spark plug to ignite it. The fuel just sits there, useless while your engine continues to stall. Furthermore, there is the issue of the sugar spike.
As we age, our bodies become less efficient at processing glucose, a condition often referred to as insulin resistance. Even though a banana is a natural food, it sits relatively high on the glycemic index, especially as it ripens and becomes spotted with brown. When a senior eats a banana alone, perhaps as a quick breakfast or a snack on an empty stomach, it causes a rapid spike in blood sugar, followed by an inevitable and crushing crash. This crash doesn't just make you sleepy, it physically weakens your leg muscles. I have seen countless patients who complain of heavy legs in the late morning, unaware that their healthy breakfast banana is the culprit behind their sudden loss of strength. According to the National Institutes of Health, older adults are also more prone to electrolyte imbalances due to common medications like diuretics for blood pressure. Eating a banana in isolation can actually throw these delicate ratios further out of balance, leading to more cramps, more stiffness, and more frustration. We must also consider the overripe factor. As a banana turns from firm yellow to soft and spotted, its starch converts into simple sugar. For a 70-year-old body, this is like hitting the pro-inflammation button. We've already discussed how inflammation is the fire that causes leg pain. Why would we want to feed that fire with a sugar bomb? This is why so many of my patients say, "Dr. Gupta, I eat a banana every day, but my legs still hurt." They are falling into the paradox. They are getting the potassium but missing the magnesium partner, and they are triggering a metabolic roller coaster that leaves their muscles exhausted. But don't throw your bananas away just yet. This fruit is not the enemy. It is simply a tool that is being used incorrectly. By understanding the partner principle of nutrition, we can turn this common fruit back into the healing powerhouse it was meant to be. We just need to stop eating it alone and start eating it with intention, transforming a sugar spike into a slow-burning, muscle-mending fuel that lasts all day. Grace Thompson was a woman of quiet elegance, a retired librarian from Boston who lived for her evening walks through the public garden. But at 67, a terrifying new visitor had begun to haunt her nights: the Charlie horse. These weren't just simple cramps, they were violent, agonizing spasms in her calves that would wake her from a deep sleep, leaving her muscles sore and bruised for days afterward. "Dr. Gupta," she told me during a cold winter evening, "I eat a banana every night before bed because I heard it helps. But the cramps are getting worse. I'm afraid to go to sleep." Grace was the perfect example of the banana paradox. She was giving her body potassium at a time when her magnesium levels were at their lowest, and the resulting electrolyte imbalance was short-circuiting her muscles in the middle of the night. I looked at her and said, "Grace, we aren't going to take away your banana. We're just going to give it a partner." I introduced her to the partner principle. I told her that she must never eat a banana in isolation again. Instead, I had her spread a tablespoon of almond butter, rich in the magnesium she was missing, onto the banana slices and sprinkle them with a dash of cinnamon to help regulate her blood sugar. The results were nothing short of a miracle for her. By pairing the potassium-rich fruit with a magnesium-rich fat and protein, we slowed down the absorption of the sugars and ensured that the electrolytes were delivered to her muscle cells in a balanced, usable form. A study from the American Journal of Physiology confirms that when athletes, and yes, seniors are the athletes of life, consume potassium paired with magnesium and protein, they experience faster recovery and a dramatic reduction in muscle coordination issues. For Grace, the midnight Charlie horses vanished within 2 weeks.
"I feel like I've been given a secret key," she told me, her eyes finally free of the exhaustion that comes from broken sleep. "I finally have my nights back, and my legs feel steady again."
But the partner principle isn't just for bedtime. I tell my patients to pair their bananas with Greek yogurt for a protein boost, or to slice them onto whole grain toast with a smear of peanut butter. This buffer prevents the sugar crash that drains leg strength and provides a steady stream of fuel for your afternoon walks. I also advise choosing bananas that are firm and yellow, perhaps even with a hint of green at the stem, rather than the mushy brown spotted ones. These firmer fruits have more resistant starch, which feeds the healthy bacteria in your gut and prevents the inflammatory sugar spike. For Grace, this small shift in how she ate transformed a fruit she loved into a strategic tool for her mobility. She went from being a prisoner of her own bed sheets to a woman who could once again walk the cobblestone streets of Boston with confidence.
It is a reminder that in the journey of healing, the smallest adjustments, finding the right partner for your food, can lead to the most profound restorations of the human spirit and the human body.
As we stand here together at the end of this journey, I want you to take a deep, slow breath and feel the weight of your body against the chair or the floor. For 30 years, I have watched 30,000 souls struggle with the same fears you are feeling right now. The fear that their best days are behind them, that their legs are failing, and that the world is slowly becoming a smaller, more painful place. But after everything we have discussed, I hope you can see that your pain is not a sentence of old age. It is a conversation. Your body is not broken. It is simply asking for a different kind of care. We have talked about the crimson power of beets to flood your parched muscles with oxygen-rich blood. We have explored the silver healing of salmon to extinguish the invisible fire of inflammation.
We have looked at the humble green leaf of spinach to restore the electrical spark of magnesium and stability. And we have corrected the great banana paradox to ensure your fuel actually reaches its destination. These are not just dietary tips. They are the fundamental building blocks of a life lived without hesitation. But I must be honest with you as a physician who cares deeply for your future. Knowledge without action is just a beautiful dream. Your body is a miraculous self-healing machine, but it requires you to take the first step. Clinical data from across the globe proves that the aging body is far more plastic and resilient than we ever imagined. You can rebuild muscle, you can clear the pathways of circulation, and you can erase the burning in your legs at 70, 80, or even 90 years old. But you must start today. Don't wait for the pain to become unbearable. Don't wait for another night of Charlie horses to wake you in agony. Go to your kitchen, look at your pantry with new eyes, buy the beets, find the wild-caught salmon, grab a bag of spinach, and learn to eat your bananas with a handful of almonds. These are small, affordable decisions that ripple outward to create a tidal wave of vitality. You deserve to walk through the park, to play with your grandchildren, and to move through this world with the grace and strength that you were born with. However, there is one more thing I must tell you. In all my years of research, I have discovered a silent trigger, a common habit that millions of seniors do every single morning that quietly drains the strength from their legs before the day has even begun. No matter how many beets or salmon fillets you eat, if you continue this one morning habit, you are fighting a losing battle. Correcting this one mistake may be the missing piece your body has been waiting for all these years. In my next video, I will reveal exactly what that habit is and how you can fix it in less than 60 seconds to supercharge your recovery. Your journey to stronger, pain-free legs is just beginning, and I promise you, your body is not done growing stronger yet, not even close. The horizon is bright, and I want to be there to guide you every step of the way. If this story of healing has touched your heart today, if you feel a spark of hope that you haven't felt in years, I invite you to join our community. This is a place where we stop managing disease and start creating health. Please subscribe to this channel and click that notification bell so you never miss a single chapter of our journey together. Share this video with a friend or a loved one who is struggling with their mobility. You might just be the one who gives them their life back. I am Dr. Sanjay Gupta, and it has been the honor of my life to share these 30,000 stories of resilience with you. Remember, every step you take with intention is a step toward freedom. I will see you in the next video where we will uncover the final secret to your strength. Walk in health, walk in peace, and most importantly, just keep walking.